Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today I want to continue the series in which I review a new stock every single week and just give you my thoughts on the particular company and whether I think it might be worth to invest in or not. Of course, anything I say here, it's not financial advice. Ultimately, it's your money, your decisions, so do your own diligence. So in this video, I actually want to talk about Palantir, a company many of you requested, and a company that has really been booming in recent times. I really think it's the new meme company because so many people plow their money into it. It seems these days every other finance YouTuber talks about Palantir, so there's obviously a huge interest in that company. So I'm personally not invested. I used to be invested. I lost quite a bit of money with the company, so now I can really objectively talk about the company and whether I will open a position with them in the future or not. Now, first off, I'm not even going to pretend to fully understand what Palantir is all about. And I think those people who say they do, honestly, unless they work at Palantir, I really think you should take it with a grain of salt because honestly, it's such a complex company. They make it seem quite simple, but since it is really in the AI field and obviously is really geared towards governments as well and institutions and really goes deep in the data, I think it's really complex to fully understand what they're all about. Obviously, their website is straightforward. They highlight their 4 key products over here, and these are the 4 key products, or better said, services that they're selling and obviously used to make their money in. It's obviously a data-driven and AI-focused company. That's their main focus, right? They're not selling any products and so on. They're selling intelligence, data, and AI. So recently they added their whole new AI platform, and that's where I really think the stock has been surging in recent time. I mean, they're going into healthcare. Obviously, they're already in military. They're helping out government. So that AI platform is really going to give another boost and confidence to investors to put their money with them in the hope of further growing their business top line. As you can see at the moment, Palantir gets around 60% of their revenue from governmental agencies. What is nice to see that they're also forging partnerships with other established companies such as Microsoft and IBM to really build that global partnership in cloud computing and other parts. So that's good to see that they're really spreading their wings and they really want to be a global AI powerhouse, so to say. Now, even though they want to have global ambitions, at the moment though, still 60% of their revenue actually comes from the US. So the main focus is obviously the US, but they're actually really expanding globally. Even now in Lithuania, where I'm based, they recently signed a deal with the government and they're going to establish quite a big office over here as well. So really starting to expand globally, which obviously brings a lot of future prospect revenue growth with it. Now, when we look at the business model, the 2 biggest platforms obviously right now is the Gotham and Foundry platform. The Gotham platform is for governments. So this is basically used by governments to analyze and utilize big data about the citizens, but also even police. A lot of police around the world, they use that system to use it to prevent crimes in the future. So they're really using big data on the citizens for profiling, etc. That's of course something why they are a little bit controversial because they have access to all this big data. The question is, what happens to the data? But the fact that they are so strongly ingrained in so many governments around the world obviously gives them a leg up. On the other side, you have their Foundry platform, which is used on the commercial side. So here, big companies are using their solutions to optimize their workflows. They have shown examples where they managed to cut down the manufacturing process of certain cars or airplanes by 50% just by using AI in their platform to optimize workflows, etc. So obviously super powerful platform. But obviously layered on top, you have the new AI platform as well. Now heading over to Lightyear, which is one of my favorite brokers. And if you haven't checked them out yet, then use my link in the description below with the code KAI10 and you're going to get $10 worth of a free stock. Right, so if you go over here, you can use it of course on your app, but they also have a nice web version. Pull it up over here and see what Palantir has been doing. Since the beginning of the year, they grew by almost 200%. I mean, absolutely staggering and really incredible growth journey they have been through. And that's obviously fueled a lot of the finance influencers to talk about it because there's such a demand into the stock. And the question is, can it continue that growth journey or will it decline going forward? For myself, actually, I remember I bought it sometime in 21 at just about $20 and they said Palantir is going to the moon. And I bought into it blindly. And I remember I sold it sometime last year just under $10. So I took quite a loss over there. It wasn't a big position, just a couple of €100 I lost, but it was a painful experience. So that's why, I still have that in mind. But when I see, of course, that growth had over the last few months, I mean 200%, that's a staggering growth. Now in terms of EPS, earnings per share, actually it's negative because the fact is that they haven't turned a profit yet. That's a big red flag for me because I personally want to invest into companies that actually have a profit to show. Also, when you can see the analyst ratings, now analyst ratings is anyone's guess. Hopefully they're smarter than us, but what they're saying that it is a sell for them. You can see most of them are quite bearish on the stock. Most of them saying that the average price target will be at around $11, quite a reset from where we are at the moment at around $19, and only on the upside around $25. So it seems to be a bigger downside than an upside in the future. But of course, an analyst rating may only mean so much, right? And you can see nicely over time how the revenues grew every year from 2018-19, year on year, nice growth. That's always great to see the top line of a company grow. But in terms of profitability, unfortunately, they still haven't achieved any kind of profit. Now, they are reducing the loss a little bit, but still, even in last year with $1.91 billion in revenue, they managed to produce a loss of $373 million. Now, once again, I'm not going into the gist of where it's composed, but when I look at it objectively and I see that, I'm still worried and I'm still not confident to invest a lot of funds in there into a company that's burning through their money. Now, I understand you have to spend money to make money, but looking at this, I'm definitely concerned. You can see here, year-on-year growth, revenue 23%, but the net income actually dropped by 28% year-on-year. And when we head over to Seeking Alpha, which is another one of my favorite stock research tools, you can see over here, if I pull up Palantir, the short interest is currently at almost 7%. I mean, I've never seen such a high short interest for a company. Basically, that means 7% of investors are betting against the company. They're betting for the company to drop in value. That way they make money. They're short selling the stock basically. And that's an extremely, extremely high value. Usually you see 1 to 2%. Even when I pull up Tesla, you can see over here, which traditionally had a very high short interest, it only has 3.44. So when I look to Palantir, it's almost twice that. For me, that's really, really worrying because it means a lot of people are betting against the company. So for me, with so many people betting against it, I'm definitely more cautious about it. And another really red flag for me is the PE, price per earnings, of 88. I mean, that's mind-boggling. It's probably one of the highest numbers I've seen. If I, for example, compare it with the most valuable company in the world, Apple, they traditionally, as a tech stock company, have a high one. That's currently at 32, which I think is kind of reasonable. Here with Palantir, it's almost 3 times that amount. So for me, that's way too high and just shows that the stock currently is really too expensive for my liking. Even if I like the company, just based on that metrics, it's way, way too expensive. But very interesting. What I like about Seeking Alphas are also the analysis and different articles you get. And you can really see it's so subjective, right? Some of the people say it's a buy, some of them are selling, some of them are holding, then you have a strong buy. So it's really all over the show. All of them are smart people, yet they have so different opinions about a stock. And that's the beauty of investing, right? There's no right or wrong. You have to make your own decision, find your own way. And that's why I'm just here to give my opinion, my thoughts. In the end, once again, as I said, it's your call, your decision, your due diligence, your money ultimately. Now, when we look at how Palantir ranks in terms of global ranking, currently is the 445th most valuable company in the world. And when we visualize, once again, their revenues, they've been really nicely growing over time. But once again, the earnings or the profits, so to say, they are shrinking. That's good to see. They're getting closer to the zero baseline. So hopefully once they cross that, I can really get a bit more excited about the company. But right now, it's such a massive valuation and they're still generating losses. I just struggle to get behind it and put my money into a company that's burning through the cash. And one more thing that I wanted to share with you, which really puzzled me, and that's looking at what successful investors do about the stock. Now, I'm just a random guy on the internet, right? I can say I like the company or I don't. Doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But I always like to look at what are the biggest investors doing about a particular company. And there's a great website I'll show you in a second called Roma. And there you can track the most successful investors because they have to openly show their buys and sells of the last quarter and obviously also their total holdings of the various stocks they own in their portfolio. So when we head over to it, it looks a little bit intimidating at first, not very user-friendly, but still, you can get the gist of it, of all the various portfolios of Superinvestors, etc. And you can go by Superinvestor itself, look at them, Warren Buffett, etc. Or you can just click on activity. You see the different activities of the different portfolio managers. So you have here all the big ones and the top 10 buys and sells, what they're buying, the various companies, etc. So really cool. So we can also look by company directly. So if I look for Palantir, I'm sure we'll find a lot of investors owning it, buying, selling it, and just having it part of their portfolio. And this is what really shocked me because when I pull up Palantir over here, you can see none of the super investors actually owns Palantir in their portfolio. I mean, I was mind-boggled. I've never seen a big company that wasn't owned by any of those super investors. That's really, really scary to see. And there hasn't been any buy transaction recently. There was one sell a while ago by one individual. I've seen that before. When I click into activity over here, you can see one gentleman, Daniel Loeb, sold it, but that's quite a while ago in Q1 21. But since then, basically no activity, which for me is really, really worrying to see. So only when I go over to insider trading, I can see all of those insiders are doing only one thing. They're selling because they see it's currently at the peak. I mean, look at this, all red over here. Everybody's selling because they're taking the profits, which honestly probably makes sense given the high price at the moment. You can see over here, in total, no buys, only 88 sales, which equates to 84 million in stock value that has been sold off. So just for comparison's sake, if I go over here, for example, Visa, a really straightforward, boring old company that everybody knows about, right? I mean, at least you would see here 25 different super investors have it in their portfolio. It currently has an ownership rank of 4, means 1.61% of all portfolios have some kind of Visa in their portfolio. So it just shows, that's a staple that people invest in, that trust. Even Tesla, very risky stock indeed, but still, some of the super investors have it in their portfolio. Yet, nobody has Palantir in their portfolio at this stage, and most likely by now you figured out my position on Palantir. While I do believe the company is doing amazing things, I really think that in the future they're gonna grow, no doubt about it. The way they're focused on AI, the way they're ingrained in all the various parts of governments and businesses, not just one or the other, but both of them. So I really think they have a strong moat. It's hard for other companies to compete with them. So I think it's a behemoth company in the future. The revenue is going to grow. Hopefully, eventually, profitability will follow. I do believe they will enter profitability at some stage. But at this price point, you see the evaluations, the EPS is through the roof. That's why none of the super investors is holding it at the moment. You see most insiders selling it. So the question is, why would you be buying it at this stage? If I was holding onto it right now at the lower price point, I would definitely sell my position right now and get out of it, take some profits, and then maybe in the future, if I feel a bit risky, reinvest and buy at the lower price point. But again, it's your decision, your money, make your own choices. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, really helps out and tells the algorithm that you enjoy this kind of content. And also let me know in the comments which company you want me to review next. Next up, check out this video over here where I did an analysis on Spotify and whether I think it's worth to buy or not. As always guys, thanks so much for watching, stay healthy, get wealthy, and I see you in the next one. Ciao!